All right. Good morning, class. Welcome to week number 7. That is right, week number 7 of your 7315 class, which is your management class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin, and we will have a not too terribly long state of the course update this week, and then we will talk a little bit about just volunteer labor and a situation has come up very recently, and by very recently I mean this week it got reported on about volunteer labor that was used at a library, and I'm going to share a few thoughts with you all, and then I'm also going to show you where to find the article that I am referencing as I talk about this volunteer labor, because there are a few things that I do think are worth saying when it comes to volunteer labor and intern labor in libraries. So let's get started with this. We are going to try to keep this under 30 minutes, and you can speed me up. Let's talk about the state of the course update. The first thing that I need to say is you do have assignments due this weekend. You have the service assessment. What is the formal name? Library service assessment assignment that is due this coming weekend. Now, I do want to apologize. We are in the middle of doing our admissions work. CISLT is, as far as reviewing applications, debating them, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of tying me up a little bit, along with other stuff that everybody's going through. So I have not completed grading of the interview with the information agency manager yet. That was due on February 20th. I am plugging away at that and will hope to soon. But I do prefer most of the time to have assignments graded before other assignments are due, just so that I can tell people, what they did right, what they did wrong, especially when it comes to APA citation, because I'm quite sure that there's probably some errors in APA citation with some of these submissions with those first assignments there. However, what I'm going to say to that is, you all have been made aware of, in fact, in a previous announcement, let me see which announcement it actually was, but in a previous announcement, I did say it was actually the check-in video for week 2. So we are talking about January. It's been over a month. I did talk about 2 common mistakes that are made in APA, and I will be looking for these mistakes, and I will be counting off with both assignments, both what was due on February 20th and what is due this weekend. I will be counting off if there are errors, but I will with APA, and I do note that for these assignments, I will deduct points if the APA is improper. So what I would recommend that you all do, as far as, since I haven't been able to give you feedback as on your APA for this first assignment, then what I'm going to say with the second assignment is this. If you are unsure about your APA and you did not watch that first check-in video, that week 2 check-in video, but you happen to be watching this check-in video, what I'm going to say is, yes, you need to go ahead and if you are unsure about your APA, you should probably contact the Writing Center before you turn in your assignment, because it is just because you have not gotten feedback on the first assignment, that's no excuse for bad APA format on the second citation, especially when I tell you what I believe a lot of you are going to get wrong in the week 2 check-in video. And plus, I also note in this announcement when I will be taking off, and both of those assignments are listed there. And I do let you all know that you all can use the Writing Center to have your APA checked over. So you have opportunities to get your APA checked over, so I'm not going to be accepting any excuses if there are APA errors in the second assignment, just because I haven't been able to complete grading of the first assignments yet. So I wanted to get that out of the way, but I am looking forward to getting these assignments, and I hope they are spectacular. And because you all are so bright, I'm pretty sure they will be. Okay, so, I did first want to get that out of the way, but I will say, aside from that, discussion boards are good, case studies have been good, you all have been good thus far. So maybe I have nothing to worry about. We'll see. And from there, that is really the only stuff that I need to bring up the state of the course right now, because our NetSync session is actually quite a ways away. Let me see. It is, it's actually sooner than I thought. It's in 2 weeks on March the 15th. So our NetSync session is coming. And I do hope that you all will. I hope you all enjoyed Jerome last week, and I think that you all will enjoy Danny on March the 15th. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping you all enjoy it. Okay. Having said that, let's go to the article on volunteering that I was talking about. And again, I'm going to link this article for you all. But this article is right here, and it's from February the 28th, which was yesterday, because I'm recording this on March the 1st. So members of Library Black Outreach Group resign over denial of stipend. This is actually a very, very interesting and intriguing article, because essentially what has happened here is the library in question, which is in Evanston, Illinois, this public library had formed I guess it was a committee, and there's, as if you read the article, you will see that there's actually disagreement on whether this was a committee basically of volunteers or not. It seems that the people that were on the committee did not feel that they were volunteers, and the people who were administrators with the Evanston Public Library did feel that they were volunteers. And so these people who are on this committee, they did this work to enhance the African American collections and African American outreach for the Evanston Public Library, and they were not compensated for it. And then what happened was there was another group that was doing some community outreach on behalf of the library, and this other group was compensated for the outreach that they were doing. And by the way, these are community people, so it's not necessarily actual librarians or full-time staff or anything like that. In both cases, in both the Collections Advisory Committee, which was the group that was compensated, and the excuse me, I'm sorry, I had to correct myself. The Collections Advisory Committee was the group that was not compensated, and the group that was compensated was the group that was developing the community listening and sharing engagements. And 2031. I'm not the only one making mistakes here, but yes. So this group was compensated, and the Collections Advisory Committee was not. And so it did. This gets into a lot of heavy subject matter that libraries are currently contending with. So one of the heavy subject matters just basically is what should there's a lot of efforts in libraries now, because people of color are underrepresented in this field. And this field for a long time has been trying to address that, trying to remedy that, and employing different tactics. And also in trying to remedy that, they've been depending a lot on unpaid labor from people of color to try to help remedy this situation of underrepresentation. And when I talk about underrepresentation, roughly, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I'm just going to give you all the rough numbers. About 66% of the American population is non-Hispanic white, 66%, about. And yet in libraries, about 88% of the degree librarians in the United States of America are non-Hispanic white. Why does that matter? There's literature that supports this, and the general feeling is that in order for libraries to actually reflect and better serve diverse communities, the libraries also have to be diverse. And you will see there is literature that supports that you get better collection development when you have people of different cultures that are you know, putting input into collection development, you do get more diverse collection development then. And you do have patrons who, like patrons of color, a lot of times are more comfortable with librarians of color and that sort of thing, librarians that look like them. In quite a few of my librarian um, jobs, I've been the only Black librarian, and yet I've always been in situations where there have been a lot of Black library patrons, and yes, it was very clear that a lot of the Black patrons just felt more comfortable with me. I'm sorry if that hurts or offends anyone, but that's what it is. And there are different things with me, I would say, that I feel more comfortable. For instance, my physician, my general practitioner doctor is Black, and I specifically sought out a Black general practitioner because he is more familiar with health issues that are more likely to affect the Black community and Black males and that sort of thing. My barber, of course, is Black. I don't go to a white barbershop because Black barbers are usually better trained in taking care of Black hair textures and that sort of thing. So again, I'm sorry if this offends anyone, because I know that there is a lot of rhetoric out there about, well, we just need a total colorblind society. Well, it doesn't work. And I can talk about the reasons why it doesn't work all day. But again, I'm going to try to keep this under 30 minutes and maybe even shorter than that. But having said that, so getting back on topic, when we talk about diversifying the field of librarianship so that it better serves people of color and communities of color. One thing that factors into that is the fact that a lot of the labor in order to try to diversify this field does fall on the people of color that are already in the field, including myself. And I've done a lot of things related to trying to increase and enhance diversity in the field of librarianship. I've done a lot. My entire dissertation even was on a retention issue with librarians of color. So I've done the work. I don't do as much work now because I've got a family now. I've got a wife and I've got a 19-month-old. But especially when I was single and childless, I was out there doing the work. I was actually one of the leaders in the profession on that. But I've scaled that back. But having said that, it was a lot of unpaid labor. It was a lot of labor that I did because I felt it was the labor that needed to be done. And that's the case with a lot of people who do diversity work in this field. But now there's a pushback, and that's why I'm an older millennial. I would be what they call the geriatric millennial, born in 1983. The younger millennials and the Gen Zs that are coming into libraries now, I have a lot of things to say about them, or about Gen Z and younger millennials in general, because I don't necessarily see eye to eye with them on a lot of issues. But one thing that I really think that they are doing very well with is labor. I think that you're going to see some real labor change for the better with Gen Z. And of course, there are people who have a more old school mentality who think these people are lazy, and that's not what it is. It's just that workers have been getting the short end of the stick in this country for a long time. And Gen Z is finally, I would say, the generation that's gonna say no more. Younger millennials too, but me as an older millennial, I still came up in the era of pay your dues and show yourself worthy. And so that is kind of my mindset. I mean, I was raised by boomers in the rural South where people are very, very much take pride in making contributions through their work to society as a whole. And that's what they talk about. That's what they base their identities off of. But that's a very old school way of thinking. And that's actually a good thing that we're moving away from that. But having said that, yes, there are people now in libraries who are people of color who are saying no more of this free stuff. It actually helps you all when we're here. So why are we doing all of this diversity work for free? And so one thing that you can kind of get a inkling of within this article, if you read it, and again, I'm going to link it up, is that part of the complaint here is, oh, okay, y'all are paying this other group, but you're not willing to pay us. You're going to say that we're volunteers, even though we never actually signed anything saying we're volunteers. But you're going to pay this group that's doing this other type of outreach work. And it upset them to the point where they decided to, halt any production that they were doing. I am going to go ahead and go on record and say, yes, I commend them for that. These are people who, in this specific case with Evanston Public Library, these are also people who, because they're not degree librarians, they don't necessarily have the same stakeholder interests in the field that the degree librarians do. This isn't necessarily their future. You know what I'm saying? So, why would they do all of this labor for free when it's not the field that they're invested in? Okay. So that's one thing. But then let's, from there, and again, you can get more of a full view of this if you read the article. And you can discuss the article in the free-for-all section within the discussions. That's what it's there for. But having said that, let's go now just to the concepts of volunteers and what libraries try to get away with volunteers and what they should probably cease with trying to get away with volunteers. So one thing that I would say is, a lot of what goes on in this field is stuff that people are doing outside of their 40 hours. There are a lot of professions where people do their 8 hours and go home. And that is what is actually in vogue where I'm from, again, in the rural South. When you're dealing with people who are blue collar and that sort of thing, that's what they take pride in. I did my 40 hours, I earned my paycheck, and now I'm going to go home. And they're not all about that, free labor and everything like that. Nah, they're all about, I put in my time to make you rich, but you got 8 hours of my day. You got a third of my 24-hour day. And I'm going to take my other 2/3 in order to raise my family, to sleep, to take care of my household, and so forth and so on. The librarianship is going to have a problem with the labor situation because it is way too dependent on volunteer labor. It's way too dependent on unpaid internships. It is way too dependent on librarians working over their 40 hours in order to publish things, in order to serve on committees through an ALA and all of these things, or these other organizations. And there's just a lot of unpaid labor that, again, I don't see Gen Z putting up with, and I don't think that Gen Z should put up with it. I, as a geriatric millennial, decided to put up with it because I know no other way. There were no other realistic options for me. But Gen Z actually has the heart to say, we're not going to take it. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at that phenomenon, what we've got to do in libraries, and if you become a library manager, I would encourage you to actually build that time in, if possible. Like build time in for your librarians if you want them to be on ALA committees or state committees or anything of that nature. Build that time into their actual workday. Okay, don't make it some unpaid labor, some volunteer labor that they're having to do on top of their 40 hours, but build time into their day where, okay, maybe you can say to your catalogers, okay, you spend 5 hours of your 8 hours work shift cataloging. You spend 3 hours doing something else, whether it's training yourself on databases and resources, or training your coworkers, or doing doing committee work or something like that. But make it part of their make it part of what they're getting paid for. If you have the power to do that, and you may have the power to do that in your management situation, and if you make it part of what they can do within their 40 hours of a work week, then you're allowing your librarian to have what I believe everybody should have, which is some work-life balance. Okay. You can ask these people, and you have to look out. This is another thing that I'm going to say, and this is going to be very controversial, but I'm going to try to do a webinar for BCALA about this summer, because it's something that I think is very important. But some of these librarians need to be protected from themselves. Some of these librarians they just don't know how to say no. And they will take on committee work after committee work, and speaking engagement after writing engagement after speaking engagement after writing engagement, and they will just do all the things. And it's for what? One of my favorite lyrics in a rap song is by Busy Bone, because he wasn't showing up for concerts. And he said in the rap lyric, he's like, I ain't making no money, so what am I working for? Baby, what am I hurting for? Tell me, what am I searching for? Restitution. And that's where I'm coming from with it. Some of your librarians, they're not going to know how to say no. And so you might have to actually protect them. You might have to say to them during goal setting meetings or quarterly check-ins, or however you do that, you might just need to say to them, okay, you're doing this committee work, you're doing that writing project, you're on this grant initiative, and so forth and so on. You don't do anything else, because you are robbing yourself of work-life balance. You are volunteering your life away. You get paid to work in this profession for 40 hours and you're working 80 hours. What are you doing? And you're going to have to, if you're a caring and kind manager, you might have to save them from themselves. And I've seen a lot of that, because, and this is the controversial part. You'll see this. No one likes to talk about it, but I talk about it. And in fact, I talked about it very recently on social media and got a lot of responses to it. But one thing, there are a lot of manipulative people in this field as well. And I'm going to talk about manipulative personalities in an upcoming check-in video. I'm definitely going to be doing that. But what I'm going to say right now is that you also have a lot of lonely and empty people in libraries. You have a lot of people who, their family is their cat, or, their friend is their pet. All of their friends are in libraries. They have no life outside of libraries, and all of these very, very sad realities. And so they become prey for manipulative personalities within the field. And I've seen it so many times in my 15 years in this field. So that's part of the reason why they don't say no, because they think, oh, if they don't say no, then people aren't going to like them, and people aren't going to be their friends at conferences and eat with them, and all of those things, or all of these things that just may sound pathetic, but there's a lot of pain and a lot of hurt with a lot of these library personalities. I've seen it. They may not necessarily admit it, but their actions show it. Okay. So when it comes to leveraging volunteer work, don't let your, if you become a manager, try your best not to let your workers over volunteer themselves and overcommit themselves. Okay. And it happens to a lot of librarians, and I've been there. All right. Don't let them do it. The final thing that I'm going to say before I wrap this up, and again, this goes to the issue of unpaid labor, is if you can pay your interns, please do so. This is another generational thing. Again, as a geriatric millennial, and boomers and Gen X before me, we came up where unpaid internships were the norm. And there is the thing with unpaid internships is that they maintain a system of privilege, because the people who, it's usually middle class people, or people who are able to depend on mom and dad or a spouse or somebody like that. Those are the people usually who can do unpaid internships. The people who are trying to, libraries are supposed to be equalizers in society, but the people who are trying to work themselves out of poverty, or out of, not even necessarily poverty, but just out of dire financial straits. These people are not going to, a lot of times, be able to give the time for an unpaid internship. They have to do the things that bring them money so that they can pay their bills and feed their children and themselves and all of these other things, pay these ridiculous student loans. And so it's very bad practice. And this is, again, something that I hope and think that Gen Z is going to overcome. I do think that Gen Z is going to put an end to the whole idea of unpaid internships. And I would say that if you're a good manager and you can budget, even if it's just minimum wage, if you can budget some money for your interns whenever you host interns, please do it. It's the proper thing to do. All right. I'm going to leave it right there because I said I was going to keep it under 30 minutes. And again, I hope you sped it up, but I am Dr. Jace, and don't allow people's work-life balance to go to waste. All right. I'll see you all next week.